The baby monitor crackled to life at 2:17 a.m., and I should have turned it off. Should have minded my own business. Should have pretended I didn't hear my wife Dana whispering into her phone like she was planning a bank heist. Once the baby comes, I'll dump him, Mom. Child support, alimony, it'll be easy money. Austin says the system always sides with mothers. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I froze in the kitchen doorway, still wearing my EMT uniform, exhausted from pulling a double shift. 12 hours of heart attacks, overdoses, and domestic violence calls, and now this. My own domestic situation was about to explode. He's so gullible, he'll never see it coming, Dana continued, her voice dripping with satisfaction. I'll have the apartment, the car, the kid. He can keep his precious ambulance. Austin's already got a lawyer lined up. Says we can milk this for years. Austin, her ex-coworker from the dental office. The guy with the flashy BMW and the gold chain who looked like he bought his personality at a used car lot. I'd met him twice at office parties, and both times he'd made comments about hard-working guys who don't appreciate what they've got. Guess I was about to find out what I had. I pulled out my phone and hit record, capturing every venomous word. Dana was painting a picture of our marriage that would have been hilarious if it wasn't so devastating. According to her, I was lazy, selfish, and completely oblivious to her needs. The woman I'd been working 60-hour weeks to support was describing me like I was some lazy guy who spent his days on the couch. The best part is, he actually thinks I love him, she giggled. He keeps talking about baby names and college funds. It's almost sad. Almost sad. Right. When she finally hung up, I waited 10 minutes before creeping upstairs. Dana was already asleep, one hand resting on her 7-month belly, looking peaceful as an angel. The same belly I'd been rubbing with cocoa butter every night, talking to our unborn son about baseball and camping trips. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her sleep, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet, something calculating, something that reminded me of the voice I used during medical emergencies, when everything was falling apart, but you had to stay calm and think 3 steps ahead. By morning, I'd transferred half our joint savings into my emergency account, called my lawyer, Miriam Keller, and left a message, made copies of our financial records, started a file folder labeled Insurance Papers that would hold everything else I was about to collect. Dana woke up cheerful, making small talk about nursery colors and asking about my shift. I played along, made coffee, rubbed her feet while she complained about swelling. The perfect husband, just like always. I'm meeting Jessica for lunch today, she said, scrolling through her phone. Then I have that prenatal yoga class at 4. Jessica was her best friend, the one who'd been divorced 3 times and treated alimony like a retirement plan. The prenatal yoga class was new, started about 2 months ago, right around the time Austin's name began popping up in conversation. Sounds good, babe. I'll be at the station until 6, then I'm grabbing drinks with the crew. She kissed my cheek, and I wondered if this was what it felt like to be a spy. Living a double life, pretending everything was normal while gathering intelligence on the enemy. Because that's what she was now, the enemy. At 3:45 p.m., I parked across from the yoga studio and waited. Sure enough, Dana's car never showed up. At 4:15, I drove to the Marriott downtown and spotted her Honda in the parking lot, right next to Austin's BMW. I sat there for 20 minutes, engine running, thinking about what came next. I could storm up there, kick down doors, make a scene, get myself arrested, and hand Dana everything she wanted on a silver platter. Or I could be smarter. I pulled out a tire pressure gauge and walked over to Austin's car. Not to slash anything. That would be vandalism. Just to check the air pressure. Accidentally pressing a little too hard, letting out just enough air to make the tires noticeably low but not flat. Then I took out a piece of paper and wrote, "Next time, it won't be your tires. A concerned citizen." I left it under his windshield wiper and drove home. Dana came back at 6, glowing with post-yoga relaxation, talking about deep breathing and meditation. I nodded and smiled and asked about her day, all while thinking about the look on Austin's face when he found that note. "How was drinks with the guys?" she asked. "Good. Tommy's getting divorced. Says his lawyer told him to document everything." Dana's smile flickered for just a second. "That's too bad. Divorce is so messy." "Yeah. Good thing we're solid, right?" She kissed me again, longer this time, and I wondered if she was practicing for Austin or trying to assuage her own guilt. That night, after she fell asleep, I listened to the recording again. Her voice was so casual, so matter-of-fact about destroying my life, like she was discussing the weather. I made 3 copies of the audio file and stored them in different locations. Then I opened my laptop and started researching divorce law in Iowa, child custody statutes, and alimony calculations. If Dana wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules better than she ever could. The next morning, Miriam Keller called me back. "Caleb, I've been practicing family law for 15 years, and I've seen this exact scenario about 100 times," Miriam said, her voice sharp and professional over the phone. "The good news is, you're ahead of the game. The bad news is, she's probably further along in her planning than you think." I was sitting in my truck outside the fire station, watching my EMT partner, Jake, load supplies. Normal Tuesday morning, except my entire world had shifted off its axis. "What do you mean, further along?" If she's already talking lawyers with this Austin guy, she's been thinking about this for months, maybe longer. You need to assume she's been documenting things too, building a case that you're an unfit father or husband. That hit me like a punch to the gut. I work my ass off for this family. I've never even raised my voice to her. Doesn't matter, she could claim you're never home, that your job is dangerous and unstable, that she's afraid of you. Family court judges have heard it all. I thought about all those late nights at work, the overtime shifts I'd picked up to save for the baby, all the times I'd come home exhausted and Dana had complained about me being distant or tired. She'd been building her case without me even realizing it. So what do? Keep documenting. Audio, video, financial records, text messages if you can get them. And whatever you do, don't confront her directly. Don't give her ammunition to claim you're threatening or unstable. After we hung up, I sat in the truck for another 10 minutes, watching the world go by. People heading to normal jobs, dealing with normal problems. Nobody else was discovering their pregnant wife was planning to destroy their life for profit. Jake knocked on the window. "You coming in, or are we taking the day off?" "Yeah, sorry, just dealing with some stuff." Woman troubles? If only it were that simple. Something like that. The shift was brutal. 3 cardiac arrests, a motorcycle accident, and a domestic violence call that hit a little too close to home. A guy about my age, sitting in handcuffs while his wife screamed at the cops about how he'd threatened her. He kept saying it was all a misunderstanding, that he'd never hurt anyone. I wondered if that would be me in a few months. When I got home, Dana was on the couch with her laptop, giggling at something on the screen. She quickly closed it when I walked in. "Hey babe, how was work?" "Long day. What were you looking at?" "Just funny videos Jessica sent me." She patted the couch next to her. "Come sit. The baby's been kicking all day." I sat down and put my hand on her belly, feeling our son moving around inside. For a moment, the anger faded. This was still my kid, no matter what happened between Dana and me. "He's going to be a soccer player," I said. "Or a dancer. Very graceful movements." We sat there in comfortable silence, and I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe the phone call was taken out of context. Maybe Dana was just venting to her mother, saying things she didn't mean. Then her phone buzzed with a text message. She grabbed it quickly, but not before I saw the name on the screen, Austin. The message preview showed just enough. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear that blue dress I like?" Dana deleted the message and looked at me with innocent eyes. Jessica's being silly about some guy she's dating. I nodded and smiled and went to the kitchen to make dinner, while inside my head I was screaming. That night, I waited until Dana was asleep and went through her phone. I'd watched her enter her passcode a dozen times, our anniversary date, because she wasn't very creative. The text thread with Austin was a masterpiece of manipulation and greed. Months of messages about their plan, detailed discussions about divorce strategy, and explicit photos that made my stomach turn. But the worst part was how they talked about me. "He's so pathetic," Dana had written. Actually thanked me yesterday for taking such good care of myself during the pregnancy. Like it's for him and not the money. Austin's response, "Once we're together, you'll never have to pretend again. Just a few more months of playing house." There were dozens more. Dana complaining about having to have closeness with me to keep up appearances. Austin detailing how much child support and alimony she could expect. Plans for where they'd live after the divorce, what they'd do with the money. They'd turned my life into a business transaction. I took screenshots of everything, uploaded them to a secure cloud account, and put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. The next morning, Dana announced she was meeting Austin for lunch. "Austin?" I asked, pouring coffee like I didn't have a care in the world. "From the dental office. He's going through a rough divorce and needs someone to talk to." "That's nice of you. Helping a friend." She kissed my cheek. "I'll probably be gone most of the afternoon. He's really struggling." I'll bet he was. After she left, I called in sick to work and followed her. Not to the restaurant she'd mentioned, but to Austin's apartment complex across town. A fancy place with a doorman and valet parking. It's a way out of a dental office manager's price range. I parked where I could see Austin's BMW and settled in to wait. They emerged 3 hours later, Dana's hair messed up and her dress wrinkled. Austin had his hand on her ass as they walked to their cars, and Dana was laughing at something he'd said. I took photos with my phone's zoom lens, capturing their faces clearly. Then I followed Austin back to his apartment and did a little research. The BMW was leased. The apartment was month to month. Austin's LinkedIn profile showed he'd been fired from the dental office 6 months ago for inappropriate conduct with patients. Everything about his lifestyle screamed financial instability, but Dana was too blinded by his smooth talk to see it. Or maybe she didn't care, as long as she got her cut of my money. That evening, Dana came home with bags from expensive baby stores. "Look what I got." She pulled out designer onesies, a premium stroller, a crib that cost more than my monthly truck payment. "I know it's a lot, but the baby deserves the best. Dana, this is like $3,000 worth of stuff. We talked about staying on budget." Her face hardened. "So now you're going to be cheap about our son? This is exactly what I'm talking about, Caleb. You care more about money than your family." It was a trap, and I almost walked right into it. Any response I gave would be wrong. Either I was cheap and didn't care about the baby, or I was financially irresponsible and couldn't provide for my family. "You're right," I said instead. "I'm sorry. I want him to have everything too." She softened immediately, probably already imagining how she'd describe this conversation to Austin. Another example of my inadequacy as a husband and father. "I knew you'd understand. We can put it on the credit card." The credit card I'd be responsible for after the divorce, of course. That weekend, Dana's mother came to visit. Margaret Harper arrived like a hurricane in a floral dress, armed with opinions about everything from my housekeeping skills to my concerning work schedule. She'd never liked me. I wasn't good enough for her precious Dana. Didn't make enough money, didn't have the right kind of ambition. Now I knew where Dana had learned to see me as a meal ticket. "Caleb, dear," Margaret said, settling into our living room like she owned it. "Dana tells me you've been working such long hours. That's no way to prepare for fatherhood." "Just trying to save money for the baby, Mrs. Harper." "Oh, please. Call me Margaret. We're family." She smiled, but her eyes were calculating. "You know, Dana's father worked himself to exhaustion trying to provide for us. I'd hate to see you make the same mistake." Dana emerged from the kitchen with tea and cookies, playing the perfect daughter. "Mom, don't start." "I'm just saying, there are other ways to ensure financial security." Dana's friend Austin was telling us about some investment opportunities. "Austin?" I interrupted. "How do you know Austin?" Margaret and Dana exchanged a look that lasted half a second too long. "He's been so helpful during this difficult time," Margaret said smoothly. "Such a successful businessman. He's been advising Dana on financial planning for the baby." "I'll bet he had." "That's generous of him. What kind of business is he in?" Another look between mother and daughter. "Import-export," Dana said quickly. "Very lucrative." "Import-export. Right. The guy who got fired from a dental office was now an international businessman. I excused myself to run errands, which gave me time to do more research on Austin Reed. What I found was enlightening. He'd been married 3 times. Each marriage had lasted just long enough to establish alimony claims, and each divorce had left him significantly wealthier. His first wife had been a teacher, his second a nurse, his third a bank manager. All steady, reliable income earners. All left financially devastated after the divorces. Austin wasn't just a cheater. He was a professional husband, and Dana was his next mark. The irony was delicious. She thought she was using him to rob me blind, but he was planning to rob both of us. When I got home, Margaret was gone, and Dana was on the phone in the bedroom. I could hear her voice through the door, agitated and upset. "What do you mean she's pregnant too? Austin, you promised—" I pressed my ear to the door. "I don't care about Jessica. This was supposed to be about us, about our future." Jessica. Dana's best friend, Jessica, the one with 3 divorces under her belt. The one who'd been encouraging Dana to leave me. Austin had been playing them both. Dana's voice rose higher. "You said I was special. You said—" The conversation ended abruptly, followed by the sound of something being thrown against the wall. I waited a few minutes, then knocked on the door. "Dana, everything okay?" "Fine," she called back, her voice thick with tears. "Just tired." I found her in the bathroom, washing her face, trying to hide the fact that she'd been crying. "Bad news from Jessica?" I asked gently. She looked at me in the mirror, and for a moment I saw something that might have been regret. Or maybe just disappointment that her meal ticket was more complicated than she'd thought. She's going through some stuff. Man trouble. I'm sorry, that's rough. Dana turned around and hugged me, pressing her face against my chest. Caleb, do you ever think about what would happen if we didn't work out? It was the first honest question she'd asked me in months. I think we'd both be pretty miserable, I said. Good thing we're not going anywhere, right? She pulled back and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Right, we're solid. But something had changed. Over the next few days, Dana's phone calls became shorter and less frequent. She stopped making excuses to leave the house. Austin's name disappeared from conversation entirely. I might have felt sorry for her if I hadn't spent the week installing security cameras around our apartment and copying more financial records. Because even if Austin was out of the picture, Dana's plan hadn't changed. She'd just have to execute it without a co-conspirator. The proof came the following Tuesday, when I intercepted a piece of mail addressed to Dana from a law firm downtown. Not Austin's lawyer, her own. The consultation letter was dated 2 weeks ago, outlining divorce procedures and estimated settlement amounts based on my income and assets. She'd already met with them, already started the process. Austin or no Austin, I was still getting divorced. That evening, I cooked Dana's favorite dinner and opened a bottle of sparkling cider to celebrate the baby. We sat at our little kitchen table, talking about names and nursery themes, while I mentally calculated how much evidence I'd need to protect myself in court. I love you, Caleb, she said suddenly, reaching across the table to take my hand. I love you too. And the terrible thing was, part of me still meant it. Not the woman sitting across from me, planning my destruction, but the woman I'd married 3 years ago. The one who used to laugh at my jokes and fall asleep in my arms watching movies. That woman was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I want us to be happy, Dana continued. I want our son to grow up in a loving home. He will, I promised. No matter what happens, he'll know he's loved. She squeezed my hand, and I wondered if she understood what I was really saying. The next morning, she announced she was going to visit her mother for a few days. I need some space to think, she said, packing a suitcase. About us, about the future. Whatever you need. She kissed me goodbye, and I watched her drive away, knowing it was probably the last normal moment we'd ever have together. As soon as her car disappeared around the corner, I called Miriam. It's time, I said. Miriam's office was all dark wood and law books, the kind of place that smelled like expensive leather and old money. She sat behind her desk reviewing the files I'd brought, audio recordings, text message screenshots, financial records, photos, and a timeline of Dana's deception that read like a criminal conspiracy. This is thorough, she said, flipping through pages of documentation. Almost obsessively thorough. I'm a paramedic. Documentation saves lives. In this case, it might save your financial future. She looked up at me with something that might have been respect. Your wife made a critical error involving you in her planning conversations. Iowa is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still impact alimony decisions, especially when there's evidence of financial planning to defraud a spouse. So what's our strategy? We let her file first, let her present her case, the overworked husband, the neglected pregnant wife, the need for substantial support. Then we present evidence that this was a premeditated plan to defraud you, not a marriage that simply fell apart. What about custody? Miriam's expression grew serious. That's trickier. Courts generally favor keeping children with their mothers, especially infants. But if we can demonstrate that she views the child primarily as a source of income rather than as her son to love and protect, we might be able to argue for shared custody and reduced support obligations. I thought about the recordings, Dana's casual discussion of using our son as a paycheck. She actually said the kid was just part of the financial package. Then we have a chance. Over the next 3 days, while Dana was at her mother's house, I prepared for war. I organized every piece of evidence, created backups, and established a timeline that would be impossible to dispute. I also did something that felt like betrayal, but was absolutely necessary. I packed up all of Dana's personal belongings and moved them to the spare bedroom. When she came home, I was waiting with divorce papers. Caleb, what is this? She stood in the doorway, suitcase in hand, staring at the legal documents on the kitchen table. Her face went through several expressions, confusion, shock, and then something that looked almost like relief. I know about Austin, I said quietly. I know about the plan. Dana set down her suitcase very carefully, like she was buying time to think. I don't know what you're talking about. I have recordings, Dana, text messages, photos. I know about the lawyer you consulted, the financial planning, all of it. Her mask finally slipped, and I saw the woman she'd become, calculating, cold, and absolutely furious at being caught. "You've been spying on me, recording private conversations. That's illegal." "Actually, it's not. Iowa is a one-party consent state for audio recordings. And you were in our shared living space, using our shared phone plan to plan the destruction of our shared marriage." She sat down heavily, one hand on her belly. "This is insane. I'm 7 months pregnant with your child, and you're serving me divorce papers? I'm 7 months away from being a father to a child whose mother sees him as a monthly payment plan." Dana's eyes filled with tears, real ones this time, but I couldn't tell if she was crying because she'd been caught or because she was genuinely sorry. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she whispered. "What was it supposed to be like? I wanted more. I wanted security, nice things, a better life for our son. We could have had that, together. I was working overtime, saving money, planning for the future." "Your future. Your plans. You never asked what I wanted. I asked every day. You said you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. You said you wanted me to provide for the family." She stood up abruptly, anger replacing tears. "I wanted a man who could provide without overworking himself. I wanted someone who could give me a real life, not just survival." "Someone like Austin?" Her face flushed. "Austin understood what I needed." "Austin is a con artist who's been married 3 times. He was using you the same way you were using me." "That's not—" She stopped, probably remembering their last conversation. "He got Jessica pregnant too, didn't he? That's why you came running back here." Dana sank back into her chair, all the fight going out of her. "Jessica's not pregnant, but there were others, other women he was seeing. And you still think I'm the bad guy here?" She looked at me with something that might have been the old Dana, the woman I'd married. "I messed up, Caleb. I know I did. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work things out. For the baby." It was tempting. God help me, it was tempting. The idea of keeping our family together, of raising our son in the same house, of pretending none of this had happened. But I'd heard her real voice on those recordings. I'd seen who she really was when she thought I wasn't looking. "I can't trust you anymore," I said simply. "So that's it? You're just giving up on us?" "You gave up on us months ago. I'm just making it official." Dana picked up the divorce papers and read through them, her expression growing darker with each page. "Joint custody? No alimony? Caleb, this is ridiculous. I'm having your baby." "You're having our baby, and he deserves better than parents who hate each other." "I don't hate you. You called me pathetic. You laughed about having to sleep with me. You planned to take everything I've worked for and leave me with nothing." She had no answer for that. "I'll fight this," she said finally. "I'll get my own lawyer, a better lawyer." "That's your right. But Dana, everything I know, the court will know. Every text message, every recording, every lie you told. Are you sure you want this to be public?" She stared at me for a long moment, then gathered up the papers and walked toward the spare bedroom. "I'll be out by the end of the week," she said. "Take your time. I want you and the baby to be safe." She turned back to look at me. "Do you really hate me that much?" "I don't hate you at all," I said, and meant it. "I hate what you did to us." That night, I lay in our empty bed and listened to Dana crying through the wall. Part of me wanted to go to her, to comfort her, to pretend we could somehow fix this. But every time I started to get up, I remembered her voice on that recording. "He's so gullible. He'll never see it coming." She was right about one thing. I never saw it coming. But I saw it now. The courthouse was busier than I'd expected for a Tuesday morning. Lawyers in expensive suits hurried past families sitting on hard benches, everyone looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Dana sat across the hallway with her attorney, a sharp-dressed woman named Patricia Vance, who specialized in protecting women's rights in divorce proceedings. Translation: she was expensive and aggressive. Miriam sat beside me, reviewing our files one last time. "Remember, stay calm no matter what they say. Family court judges have heard every sob story and every accusation. What they haven't heard is this level of premeditation documented this thoroughly." Dana looked good for 7.5 months pregnant. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, a conservative blue dress that emphasized her condition, minimal makeup, wedding ring still prominently displayed. She looked like the victim of a heartless husband who was abandoning his pregnant wife. I had to admit, it was a good strategy. All rise for the Honorable Judge Sharon Leeds. Judge Leeds was exactly what I'd expected from Miriam's description. Mid-50s, no-nonsense expression, the kind of woman who'd probably seen every trick in the book. She took her seat and reviewed the case file while we settled into our chairs. This is a petition for dissolution of marriage between Dana Marie Foster and Caleb James Foster, she began. Mrs. Foster, you're represented by Patricia Vance. Mr. Foster, you're represented by Miriam Keller. Mrs. Foster, since you filed the petition, we'll begin with your testimony. Dana took the witness stand with practiced grace, one hand resting protectively on her belly. Patricia Vance stood up with a legal pad full of notes. Mrs. Foster, please tell the court about your marriage to the defendant. We've been married for 3 years, Dana began, her voice soft and slightly trembling. At first, everything was wonderful. Caleb was attentive, caring, supportive, but over the past year, especially since I became pregnant, he's become distant and angry. I kept my expression neutral, but inside I was amazed at her performance. Can you give the court specific examples? He works constantly, 60, 70 hours a week. When he comes home, he's exhausted and irritable. He's become controlling about money, questioning every purchase I make for the baby. Last month, he actually yelled at me for buying necessary baby supplies. That was the $3,000 shopping spree she'd put on our credit card, but the way she told it, I sounded like a monster. Mrs. Foster, do you fear for your safety or the safety of your unborn child? Yes. Caleb has become increasingly unpredictable. He's been following me, going through my phone, recording private conversations without my knowledge. I'm afraid of what he might do if he becomes more unstable. Patricia Vance nodded sympathetically. Your Honor, we're asking for temporary spousal support of $4,000 per month, full custody of the minor child when born, child support according to state guidelines, and a restraining order preventing Mr. Foster from contacting my client except through legal counsel. $4,000 a month, plus child support. Plus, she wanted to cut me out of my son's life entirely. Judge Leeds made notes and looked at Miriam. Ms. Keller, does your client wish to respond? Yes, Your Honor. We have evidence that will provide important context to Mrs. Foster's testimony. Miriam stood up and activated the courtroom's audio system. Your Honor, I'd like to play a recording made in the defendant's shared residence on the night of March 15th. Dana's face went white. The audio quality was crystal clear. Dana's voice filled the courtroom, casual and calculating. Once the baby comes, I'll dump him, Mom. Child support, alimony, it'll be easy money. Austin says the system always sides with mothers. Judge Leeds' expression didn't change, but I saw her pen stop moving. The recording continued, Dana laughing about my gullibility, discussing her plans with cold precision, describing our unborn son as part of a financial package. When it ended, the courtroom was silent. Mrs. Foster, Judge Leeds said quietly, do you recognize your voice in that recording? Dana looked at her lawyer, who was frantically scribbling notes. That was taken out of context. I was upset. Venting to my mother, I didn't mean... Ms. Keller, do you have additional evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Miriam presented the text message screenshots, the photos of Dana and Austin, the financial records showing her consultation with a divorce attorney while claiming to be happily married. Each piece of evidence was another nail in the coffin of Dana's credibility. But the most damaging was a recording I'd made just 2 weeks earlier, when Dana thought I was at work. She'd been on the phone with Jessica, discussing their conversation with Austin about manipulating custody arrangements to maximize child support payments. The key is to make him look unstable, Dana's voice explained. Document everything. Every time he's tired, every time he's stressed from work, every disagreement about money. Make it look like a pattern of concerning behavior. Judge Leeds set down her pen and looked directly at Dana. Mrs. Foster, this court takes allegations of domestic instability very seriously. But we also take seriously any attempts to manipulate the legal system for financial gain. Patricia Vance stood up. Your Honor, my client was clearly influenced by others. Ms. Vance, your client is an adult woman who made deliberate choices to deceive her husband and plan what appears to be systematic fraud. The evidence suggests this was not a marriage that deteriorated naturally, but rather a calculated scheme to extract maximum financial benefit from divorce proceedings. Dana started crying. Real tears this time, born of panic rather than manipulation. Judge Leeds continued. However, there is still the matter of the minor child and Mrs. Foster's genuine need for support during her pregnancy and the infant's early months. My heart sank. Even with all the evidence, Dana was still going to get what she wanted. Therefore, the court orders the following. Joint legal and physical custody of the minor child, with Mrs. Foster having primary residence until the child reaches school age. Child support according to standard guidelines, but no additional spousal support given the evidence of premeditation. Mr. Foster will maintain health insurance for mother and child, and both parties will attend co-parenting classes. It wasn't everything I'd hoped for, but it was far better than Dana's demands. Furthermore, Judge Leeds added, given the evidence of attempted manipulation of these proceedings, Mrs. Foster will be responsible for her own legal fees, and any future motions to modify this arrangement will require clear evidence of changed circumstances. Dana's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear, probably explaining that she'd just lost the lottery ticket she'd been counting on. As we left the courthouse, Dana caught up with me in the parking lot. "Caleb, wait." I turned around. She looked exhausted, defeated, older than her 32 years. "I'm sorry," she said simply. "For which part?" "All of it. You're right. I gave up on us a long time ago. I convinced myself you were the problem, but really I was just scared. Scared of being poor, scared of struggling, scared of not being able to give our son everything I wanted him to have. So you decided to take everything from me instead? I thought you'd be fine. You're strong, capable. You'd figure it out. I didn't think about how much it would hurt you. Dana, you called me pathetic. You laughed about sleeping with me. You turned our marriage into a business transaction." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know. I became someone I don't even recognize. Someone I don't like. What happens now? I don't know. I guess we figure out how to be good parents, even if we couldn't be good spouses." I looked at her standing there, pregnant with our son, her life in ruins because of choices she'd made in pursuit of easy money that was never going to be easy. "For what it's worth," I said, "I hope you find what you're looking for. Just find it honestly next time." She nodded and walked away, one hand on her belly, the other wiping her eyes. 3 months later, Caleb James Foster Jr. was born, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, with his mother's eyes and his father's stubborn chin. Dana and I worked out a custody schedule that put our son's needs first, and slowly, carefully, we learned to be co-parents, if not friends. Austin Reed moved to another state after his third ex-wife filed charges for fraud. Jessica got pregnant after all, by her divorce attorney, which seemed fitting. And me? I kept working as a paramedic, kept saving lives, kept documenting everything important. Because in the end, the truth really does set you free, even when it hurts.